Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 NJLibsGrowBiz Virtual Summit. My name is Andrea Lewandowski, and I am the Library Consultant for Small Business Development and Technology at the New Jersey State Library. I am also being joined by Naomi Torres-Velez, who is the Library Assistant in the Lifelong Learning Department at the New Jersey State Library. She will be assisting me with the monitoring the chat and technical aspects of Zoom during the summit. So thank you very much, Naomi, for your help. This really would not be possible without you. Thank you for joining us today, all of you, to explore the role of libraries in supporting small business owners and entrepreneurs in our communities. Our first speaker today will be covering a topic that may be intimidating to librarians at the reference desk who are doing legal research. I know that when these kinds of questions would come in when I was at the reference desk, I was really lucky that I could just forward them to a law library at the state library. But not everybody has that luxury, although I'm sure Cynthia, one of the many things she will tell you is that you do have the law library at the New Jersey State Library as a resource. But once you add in the business aspects, some librarians might not even know where to begin or what to do. So I hope this session will make those questions seem a little bit less overwhelming. So I'd like to welcome Cynthia Lambert from the New Jersey State Library. And Cynthia, I'm gonna stop my share and you should be able to share your screen.
Share, okay, let me do that. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Give me a second here while I do this. Okay, now. Here I am. Okay, share screen. Let's see if that works. Share. Oh, we want this to be the, from the beginning. There we go. Okay.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Again, thank you so much, Andrea, for inviting me to do this. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. I want you all to know I have pants on, and I promise I will keep them on the entire presentation for us. So when Andrea first invited me to do this, I was really excited because prior to joining the law library, I was in your shoes. I was an adult services librarian who had, amongst many, many duties, business research and business, outreach was I was the business librarian as well, just like you. So because though, when you're in a public library and business is one very small portion of what you do, the ability to get trained in depth in something like business law just really doesn't exist. And when I would get these questions, like Andrea said, I get that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, felt a little like a deer in the headlights, kind of, as the person's talking, going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So today I am going to talk to you about what do you do, and when Andrea first approached me, I was gonna train you on this database and that database, and this is where you can find things and stuff like that. Then the virus came. I'm assuming this is about your 5,700th Zoom meeting in the past month, and watching databases in a Zoom meeting is about as interesting as watching paint dry and the announcer begins to sound like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 wah. So we're not going to do that today. Today we're going to talk about how to make the reference interaction when you get a legal question from business owners, or actually regular people too, but we'll focus on business. How to make that a little bit more palatable. Like I said, when the person walks up, they have a legal question, it's very, very easy to feel queasy and awful. So the first thing I have to say to you is, don't panic. You are feeling exactly as you should feel. Legal questions are complex, difficult, sometimes unanswerable. Until I worked at the law library, I had no idea that sometimes the law is silent on that. That is probably one of the best phrases that you can get from this whole presentation, is to remember that phrase, the law is silent on that. It's also one of the most frustrating things about legal research. You can spend hours and hours doing the research, finding maybe something or nothing at all, and you still have no idea whether or not you're done. Because when the law is silent, there is no answer. So again, there's no need for you to panic. There's plenty of things that we can do, and I'm going to talk about those. The main thing I can say to you also is to start broad. Focus on the broad subject that the person brings to you. Every person who has a law question and walks up to the desk or calls you has a story. They are going to want you to hear that story. They really, with legal questions, remember, they're scared. They don't know what to do. They're just as much feeling like a deer in the headlights as you are. And therefore, this is heightened. They want to tell that story. And the problem with the story, which will be very, very detailed, is a lot of those details usually come from what I call TV law. We all grew up watching, the various cop shows and lawyer shows on TV, and we think we know the law. And usually the details are the last thing you need in helping you to do the actual research. So, for example, many people think that if they sign a contract, they have 3 days to get out of that contract. And in New Jersey, that's just wrong. There's one instance where you are allowed to get out of a contract in the first 3 days, and that's if you buy home improvement services from someone who came to your door to sell them. So it's a door-to-door home improvement salesman contract that you can get out of. All other contracts in New Jersey that you sign, you are bound by whatever is in that contract. And unless that contract has a section that says you can get out of it in 3 days, that's simply not the case. So this is why I say, focus on the broad subject that the person is telling you. Let them talk a little bit, empathize, but try to figure out what they're talking about, because that's going to start you on the proper path. You can always narrow, you will narrow as the story unfolds, as your research unfolds. But if you go generally for the very narrow, you're going to find something, it's going to appear to be the answer, but it may not be the answer. For example, often with like workplace sort of OSHA driven, what's the, what's the maximum temperature of a building or that's allowed? We get that every summer. What's the maximum temperature of a building that's allowed? And so if you were to search the statutes, you would find something that discusses that slightly, but that would only be for civil servants. There actually is no maximum temperature in federal or state law here. So that's why I say you need to be very careful, focus on the broad, and narrow. You won't then find yourself in a civil service place with your patron looking at that going, yeah, that's the answer, and having to explain how that is not the answer. So on the screen, I've given you a number of topics that I feel, in my experience with business questions, both as a public librarian and since I've joined the law library, these are the topics that people talk about the most. Labor and employment, taxes, someone said they'd do something and then didn't, and that's contract law. And I'm going to set that aside for a moment. We'll come back to that. Permits, licenses, and regulations, those are biggies. How high are the stair risers have to be? Uniform Commercial Code. What are the noise ordinances so that I can start doing lawn care work, in XYZ town? That's a big topic that a lot of people will have questions on. And then there's things like advertising and privacy and copyright that you'll also get a lot of. All three of those, I get a lot of them. And I want you to know that for all of these topics, there's a lot of help available, with the exception of that contracts. And now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about contract law. Contract law is specific and unique every single time because it's specific to that contract that's being discussed. This is an area where you as a librarian really and truly will not be able to provide a whole lot of help or support to your patron. Understand that. Be prepared to help them to understand that. This is an area where really, if somebody's having a contract dispute, they truly need to speak to a legal professional about this. Contract law has so many different facets to it that you are not going to be able to provide them with much more than a NOLO book that talks really broadly about contracts. So I'm giving you permission right now to understand that and to help save yourself and your patron a lot of frustration. If it starts with said they wouldn't and didn't, That's contract law, and understand the limitations of that. For all the other topics, there's a lot that we can do. So as you focus on that broad subject, oh, okay, he's talking about family leave, family leave. Where's family leave going to live? Family leave, you know, is not going to be a local ordinance. Rocky Hill, where I live, does not have a family leave law, but the state might and the feds might. So now by focusing on that broad topic, as opposed to, I have an employee and he needs to, blah, all those little tiny details that get you in the weed, you now know, all right, I need to figure out which one this is, state or federal, as you're talking to your patron. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Focus on the broad topic. And like I said, next, where the law lives. Businesses, all of us, are subject to laws at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level, and of course, our moms. So federal versus state versus local is really going to make a difference. I had a guy come in one time. He was really upset about his taxes. I pay my quarterly taxes. I don't understand. I got this notice. He was very agitated, very upset, very scared. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's really rough. And I began looking immediately at the IRS webpage and talking to him. And he got very annoyed with me because I didn't bother to ask the next question. Okay, broad was taxes, but taxes happen at both the state and federal level. I should have asked him what taxes he was doing. It was a sales tax letter. And in fact, he paid his sales tax in New Jersey, but he was getting a bill from another state because he was doing some work in another state and didn't collect those taxes. And according to the state, it was needed. So there was a lot of things that I could have asked him once I focused on taxes, but I was so sure taxes, that equals IRS. So again, I knew taxes meant state or local, or state or federal, excuse me, but I didn't take it any further because I was so afraid. I had forgotten about the don't panic rule. So don't panic, figure out where you're talking, try to keep it, in mind what it is. And again, so income tax can be federal and state. Sales tax, on the other hand, is only state. The feds don't collect sales tax, okay? Permits, and regulations, you may have a wetland that's going to go to both the federal EPA and the state EPA, and then you may have local building rules. For example, in my town, Rocky Hill, you're not allowed to use a leaf blower before 9 a.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. on weekends. That's unusual. It's wonderful too. I have to tell you, it's the greatest law ever. But so, you need any landscapers here in this town who want to do business in this town really need to know about that because they'll get cited otherwise. So again, thinking in terms of where does this law live? If someone hears about it on national television, CNN, things like that, it's likely that it's a federal law. If they heard about it on NJ.com, it's likely a state law. And if they got cited and had never heard it before, it's likely a local regulation. Now, obviously, those are really broad rules, but that is indeed how it works. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where the law lives in New Jersey. The New Jersey State Library's specialty is New Jersey. We do also, we can help you with federal, and we do have a lot for federal. Other states, it gets a little more. We can do pretty good with New York. We can do okay with Pennsylvania, and getting out to Nebraska, things like that. We can do the work. It'll take longer. So I'm going to talk today a lot more about New Jersey. I think that is probably most of interest to you, and certainly it's what we do best. So in New Jersey, there's a couple of ways that laws are born. There are the statutes. NJSA stands for New Jersey Statutes Annotated. And the statutes are the laws where the legislatures get together, the Senate passes the bill, the Assembly passes the bill, it's sent to the governor, he signs it, and it becomes a law. These are the most robust laws. They are the most difficult to change, and they are, codified as statutes. The administrative code, or the NJAC, the New Jersey Administrative Code, is then the part of the laws that, as my boss always says, they implement and amplify the statutes. So think of it this way. Don't pollute the waters as the statute. The administrative code on the Department of Environmental Protection then defines what polluting the water is and how that's going to be policed and how you implement these different things are found in the administrative code. A lot of your questions that you're going to get from business owners are going to be found in the administrative code. Okay, so I'll just let you know that. Normally, and in the past, when I've done a presentation on, the basics of legal research, I never would include executive orders, but this past month really has indicated just how powerful executive orders are. With a stroke of a pen, Governor Murphy closed all non-essential businesses. I think you're going to get a lot of questions about executive orders. I've already in the past month gotten the question, and 2 of them came from lawyers, about when do executive orders expire? Executive orders do not expire. They can be when the next executive comes in, so the next governor can wipe out any of Governor Murphy's executive orders, but only Governor Murphy can decide. For example, he ordered that the parks were closed. Only he could then in turn order that the parks be opened unless the legislature put out a statute and he signed it and things like that. So executive orders are important. They can be found on the New Jersey NJ.gov website. If you just put New Jersey executive orders into a Google search, you will find them there. So it's an important topic. It's not one that we normally talk about, but I think you are going to get a lot of questions about these coming up, and especially as we try to get back to whatever normal will be. And so I wanted you to be aware of them, and we'll talk about them. By the way, all of the resources I'm talking about, I have a really heavy duty handout that Andrea will make available to everyone. It'll be on the website. That's going to go through the specifics and the how-tos and where to find, and it has links and things like that. So you don't have to worry about that. Like I said, today, I'm hoping this is a little bit more interesting than staring at me going through and opening up in the administrative code. Okay. So that's why I'm talking about this in this way. So
Cynthia, before
yes?
you go on, I just wanted to say I did put a link to the handout in the chat. And like you said, it'll also be up on the State Library's website. So I'll show that at one point how to find that. And then there was a question that came in about the administrative code. Is that accessible online or in a database or book?
It is accessible online, and in fact, my next slide, I'm going to show you and talk a little bit more about the administrative code, since it is out there so much, and it leads to another thing. So just give me 1 minute, and I'm going to circle back to the administrative code for you. Okay. All right. So we have the statutes, the administrative code, the executive orders, like I said, which is a new add to this presentation. And then there's case law. And case law is the law that comes about as by a judge's, order in solving a case, in settling a case, I should say, not solving, settling a case. Case law is a really specific type of research. It is when somebody is going to go to court, they look for other cases that are similar to their own situations and things like that. I will tell you right now, we do not do any case law research at the law library. You should not do any case law research. There is no way to do case law research without giving legal advice, and you're not really supposed to give legal advice unless you're a lawyer. The reason that case law research requires legal advice, it means that you're looking at a case and you're saying, yes, this applies, or no, it does not. That is not your job. As a librarian, your job is to get the information to the patron. Don't let them draft you into being their de facto lawyer. You aren't. You don't have to be. If they want to do case law research, they can do that. They can either come into a law library. I'll give you some, all the information on where they can come, or they can use Google Scholar. You can use Google Scholar to find a lot of legal cases that will, have a lot to do with it. But that is not research that you should do. You should help them to find Google Scholar and other resources, such as going to a law library. But steer clear of case law research. It's complex. It takes hours and hours and hours for trained professionals to do. We can help people use very powerful databases like Lexis if they come into our library to do case law research, which makes case law research much, much easier to do, but they must do it. The help we provide for that is minimal because it's such a quagmire of legal advice, and you don't want to go there. And then final place where the law lives in New Jersey are those local ordinances. All of the locales have their ordinances on either Muni Code, E360, or they're all out there on these aggregates kind of thing, with the exception of a few towns. The local ordinances link on our website, which is on this presentation here also, goes to our website, has the 4 or 5 towns that do not have their code in one of these aggregate code places, and there's links to those 4 or 5 towns individual code. So know that you can go out and play, you put in the name of the town, Lawrenceville, laws, or Lawrenceville ordinances, Lawrenceville, New Jersey ordinances, and it'll pop right up for you what your local ordinances are. When they're on Muni Code or Code E-Code 360, both of those lay out the laws pretty nicely too, good hierarchical order and stuff. So local code isn't so bad in finding, sifting through it and figuring out exactly what applies. That's where the trick comes in. So now, to get back to the administrative code, and again, thank you so much for that question, because it really is an important question, okay? The administrative code is set up very hierarchically, okay? There's titles, chapters, and subchapters. Each subchapter then has the individual citations of the individual laws, okay? So it is laid out sort of like an outline form kind of thing. It's available online. I'm going to share another screen with you so that you can see that. I'm going to come out to, I think, here. Let's see if we can get up here. Yeah. All right. If you go out to the New Jersey Office of Administrative Law, you will see this little public access to the administrative code and the New Jersey Register. You want to go to the administrative code. It will ask you to accept the privacy, the terms of use. You say yes. And here you'll see is the administrative code. It is huge. Title 12, Labor Workforce Development, has within it 235 subchapters, okay, for it. And here we go. Wage collection, we'll take a look at, has, under the general provisions, a series of, then these are your actual, the actual administrative code citations, 1261 1.1. Here's definitions for that we can look at. One of the things that I want to point out about this is when you go to the publicly available administrative code, what you get is the full text of the law and the history of the law. And that is it. You will see nothing else other than that. That is always the only thing that you will see. One of the reasons I'm not getting crazy trying to teach you how to search the administrative code or search the statutes is that when it comes to business law, and when it comes to a lot of law and a lot of different topics, things, the agencies that are in charge of enforcing and implementing these laws via the New Jersey Administrative Code. So for example, in the case of Labor and Workforce Development, it's the Department of Labor and Workforce Development that is in charge of it. Environmental Protection, the Environmental Protection Agency is in charge of it. Their websites will not only help to explain the wage payments and payroll deductions, but they will do it in regular human language as opposed to legal language. For example, here's your Department of Labor. And let me come back here. Here's the Department of Labor. They have an entire employer handbook, okay? And it talks about employer wages and tax reporting right here, okay? This is written, again, like I say, much more in English, designed for small business owners to come here and read this and not have to have a law degree to understand what's being done. There's an entire section, there you go, on wage reporting. That covers the section of the code that we just talked about, but it explains what's happening there for them. So this is the next point that I want to make, and it's a really important point, and one that I think if you can take it again, anything, the first takeaway is don't panic. The second takeaway, the law is silent on that sometimes, and it is really frustrating. And now the third takeaway is don't reinvent the wheel. There's a lot out there. I want you to know about this, administrative code. I want you to know about the statutes. I want you to know about the executive orders. But again, a lot of this information is better described for your patron in the agency from where it comes. And that's the same at the federal level as well. For example, if somebody's interested in the Family Leave Act, the EEOC has a great small business website that lays it all out. Almost all your questions will be answered there. Certainly all your basic questions will be answered there. As things get a little thicker and more in the weeds, the more complex and the more difficult a legal question is, the more that patron should be speaking to a lawyer, a trained professional who understands how to do this, who specializes in how to do this. So I hope, does that answer the administrative code question for you? Well, I hope it does answer the question. One thing to keep in mind, if you find something in the administrative code or in the statutes using these free online resources, the publicly available side of the resources, and you go, oh, wow, 12:61-1.1 is really interesting to me. I wish I had more information on it. You can call the law library, and we have Lexis, and we can easily push out to you the Lexis version of this that's not public, and our version will include annotations that will have commentary from the Lexis editors. It will have mentions of cases that have been impacted by this law. It'll have the history of the law, sometimes a little more in depth than that little breadcrumb trail that was at the bottom that you saw in this. So if there is you have a citation and you want more information, we can easily push that out to you. Absolutely, we can push that out to you. And again, the code is an important area to go to and to understand, but for your patron to really get more information, because generally it's not that they want to see the law, it's that they want to understand the law. You're really better off going out to the agency's website and finding the answer via that, rather than handing them, a small statute that is very specific or very broad, but doesn't really provide any interpretive information for you. So that leads me to one of the big things about doing legal research is you really have to use your words, okay? The reference interview is, in this area, more important than in any other area I ever have worked with, as a reference librarian. As I said, focus on the broad subject. Talk to them about what they want from you. Are they looking for you to answer the question? Are they looking for you to give them information? Or are they looking for you to get them contact information? I can't tell you the number of times when I first started doing this that I would spend hours finding information for somebody, and really all they wanted was the contact at the Department of Labor's name, kind of thing. Sometimes you can find contacts, sometimes you can't, but it's important up front. Figure out what they want. This is important to understand and begin to manage expectations, okay? People will call up every single day and say, is it legal for such and such to be done? I can't answer that. That's legal advice. All I can do, I'm not a lawyer, and I always make a joke. I don't play one on TV. I'm an information professional, and I can get you information. You're going to have to answer that question. You're going to have to read that information and determine whether you think it's legal or not, or you're going to need to speak to a lawyer. There's no way around that. I can't answer, is it legal? But I can give you everything you need to make that decision for yourself. And that's where you want to go. One of the best questions you can ask is, what led to this question? If they say, I got a notice, a citation, a ticket, something like that, ask to see that. Every ticket that gets written has a citation on it. That's going to start you at the specific law really easy. You won't have to figure out what law we're talking about. So like if you get stopped at a traffic stop, get a ticket, that will have a citation on it. That will be either a local or a state citation. And from there, you can do your research a lot easier. So what led to this question? Simple, easy to forget, important, very, very important. Where are they finding their information? Like I said, lots of information that you are going to get is going to come from TV law. So try to get them to talk about where they've gotten their knowledge already, because one of the unique things about legal reference is you have to tell them they're wrong over and over. And it's very hard. It's not fun. It's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for the patron. So by getting this information in the beginning before you start, you will have a lot more tools to help them understand that they were misinformed, and we've got the better information for them. I use misinformed a lot more often than you're wrong, and I learned that the hard way. So please, learn that too. Where do they do business? Okay, if you're a retail establishment located in New Jersey and only in New Jersey, then you don't have to worry about sales tax in other states. But if you do business online and you're selling to other states, you have a sales tax issue that you need to figure out at other states. There may be different laws. There may be, if you're selling cookies, for example, or alcohol, can you sell online? These kinds of things matter. So where they do business matters. How big is their business? I know for most of us in public libraries, these are going to be small businesses, and that matters, okay? But that does matter. If they're under 50 employees, if they're under 25 employees, if they're over 100, things like that, a lot of laws are written in that regard. For example, the paycheck protection loans that are going out right now that are designed for small businesses, they define a small business as anything under 500 employees. 500 employees seems like an enormous business to me, but that by definition for these paycheck relief loans that the SBA is doing, it's 500 employees. So while that may sound like a ridiculous question to ask someone, where do you do business and how big is your firm, when they're talking about construction code, it can matter. It can matter. Use these words, get as much information up front, because the next thing you have to do is manage expectations. Again, this is another one of the big takeaways here. Legal research is slow. It's really, really slow. It is rare the day when someone calls me that I can answer them right then and there. Okay. And generally, even if I think I can, I don't. I tell them I need your name, your contact information. I'm going to have to do some research and get back to you, because legal research, you find one thing, it's connected to 15 other things. You got to understand what you're delivering before you deliver it. So let them know this is going to take some time. Let them know that they're going to have to do work. Like I said, this is where you introduce the concept of, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I don't have as good a clothing as they do. The answer in legal reference is never something specific. It's never 5. Oh, I don't know what happened there.
I took back control so I could advance your slides. I didn't want to interrupt.
No problem. Okay. There you go.
So I did anyway.
There you go. Okay. So the answer is never, I put 42 here because that's of course the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. But there's rarely a specific answer to a question. For example, someone called me one time and asked, if you're in a parking space, but your vehicle is on the line, are you legally parked or aren't you? At the state level, it doesn't say what on the line means. In their instance, they were located in Hightstown, New Jersey, and Hightstown has a local ordinance that very clearly spells out on the line means you're not parked legally. This came, I am guessing, for the same reason that my patron was calling him. He lived in a condo complex. Somebody with a giant SUV was parking. They were on the line. They were encroaching on his parking spot. He couldn't do it. The neighbor was large. He described the neighbor as large and pugilistic, which I loved. That's one of my favorite terms ever in a reference question. But this was an elderly gentleman who was really afraid. And this neighbor was not being nice to him when he talked to him. So he needed this law to back him up. On the line isn't, but the law at the state level was silent on that. There was nothing that I could give him. So I went the extra mile. I looked at the Hightstown code. I found it for him, and he was able to answer his question. It's never really clear. And again, once again, also in this managed expectations, I want to say, you are not a lawyer. Don't let them try to make you be their de facto lawyer. And they're going to have every good question, every reason. They're going to be nice people. You really want to help them. You know, we're not lawyers. We're information professionals. We can get you information. We can get you to the right people who can help you, but we cannot be your lawyer. We can't answer questions like, is it legal? We can't tell you, yes, this law, this one in particular is your answer. They have to decide that. We can say, this looks like it might be something of interest to you. This might be of interest to you. This might be of interest to you, but you have to read these things. So let them know it's going to be slow for you. It's going to be slow for them. There's not going to be a clear-cut answer. If you start to manage those expectations ahead of the game, really, they understand that. And like I always say to the people, the information I'm going to give to you is going to help you when you do go to the lawyer to be more focused, to understand what's going on. That will make the visit quicker, and a quicker lawyer visit is a cheaper lawyer visit. So keep that in mind, okay? And if you could advance my slide. I don't see, okay, there you go. All right. So now I want to talk about, like I said, don't reinvent the wheel. You can go out to the code. You can find out the information on income tax. You know, at the federal level, if you're looking at the actual laws, it is so confusing and so difficult. Something like the CARES Act, you know, for this is huge. It covers hundreds of pages, and little tiny specifics of law are in there, okay? It could take hours for you to sift through that to find this little piece of information that just gets you started. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go to the agencies in charge of that type of law and see what you can find. See who you can talk to. So the IRS has an entire small business section, you know, resource center. The EEOC has an entire small business resource center. I showed you the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development has an employer workbook, as well as a discussion of all of the labor and employment laws in New Jersey designed to help people. So don't make yourself crazy. Don't reinvent the wheel. And this is a really good time to remind people. I hate using this. I never know with public librarians. I'm not trying to I don't want to offend anybody. I'm guessing all of you know this, but just in case, I like to add it. When you're using Google, if you put in a search term, then you have a :.gov, your results will only come from governments. Governments are the only people who can make laws. They're the only people who, you know, other than lawyers. When you're doing legal research and you go to Google and you put something in, the first 7,489 responses are .coms from lawyers who are trying to gin up some business. It's very, very difficult. Using this function, .gov, .nj.us, you know, .org, you want to limit your answers. You want your results coming back. You want to get rid of the .com. In legal research, it's so, so important. So keep that in mind. Don't reinvent the wheel. And we can move to the next one. Okay. Everybody in the state of New Jersey has, the New Jersey State Library makes this available using Jersey Clicks. If you have a library card, you can get to the Legal Information Reference Center. The Legal Information Reference Center is the NOLO books, essentially. I assume most of you are familiar with the NOLO books, okay? They are fabulous resources for the difference between, say, an LLC and an S Corp and any other type of corporation. They are fabulous at these sort of very broad topic. They're not specific to a state usually, but it's really great place to send your patrons to educate them. Don't forget also that from the Legal Information Reference Center, you can not only download the entire book, but you can also just rip the specific chapter that might be of interest to your patron and push it out as a PDF to them, you know, via email. So it's a great place to go and a great place to look. Other areas where when I went to school, prior to becoming a librarian, I was a financial analyst. And when I went to school, I had one class that was called business law. And essentially it was like this umbrella course on businesses and types of businesses, you know, legal types of incorporation or not, and some of the basics of federal law regarding business. It's a great thing for people, and there's a lot of really good free resources. I'm not, obviously, I have to make the disclaimer, I'm not endorsing any of these, but MIT, OpenCourseWare, Coursera, and the SBA themselves at the federal level, the federal SBA, all have basic online class that are free in the basics of business law. It's a great resource for people. You can let your patrons know they can do this themselves. You could have, you know, you can look into whether or not you can have a program by doing these kinds of things. I did not include lynda.com in here. They do have some good resources. I know that a lot of public libraries have broken up with them, but some still have their stuff. They do have some good stuff, but theirs is much more limited. You know, the MIT course and the Coursera course and the SBA course are free. They've been available for a really long time, and I have no reason to believe that they will disappear. So again, they are also a good class for you. When I first started at the law library, I looked into taking a lot of these kind of courses so that I could get a good broad overview and start to learn how to do legal research. You know, and over 2.5 years, I've gotten to the point where I'm a little bit less queasy when I get asked questions by the public. You know, it's hard. This is hard, complex stuff. So don't feel bad that you're feeling this way. Don't feel bad that you don't know what you're doing. And if you have an extra hour, go out and take one of these courses. Take a look, get yourself familiar at the top broad level, and you will be much better prepared when your patron comes and starts asking you questions. Okay, and we can go to the next one. There we go. Finding an attorney. I mean, as I'm telling you, you've got to manage expectations and all of this. One of the biggest problems for a lot of small businesses is not only do they not want to pay an attorney, they don't actually have any idea how to go about finding an attorney. Many of us don't, okay? Until there's something serious happening, people don't generally have to look for an attorney. So I wanted to add this because I think it's really important. Every county in New Jersey has a county bar association. This link will take you to the New Jersey Bar Association with links to every county. And you can go, they have a lawyer referral program. Okay, the lawyer referral program is really great, usually for like $20, $25. You get 30 minutes with an attorney. It's general overview of help. They'll talk to you. If you like them, you can then contract with them and, you know, start working with that attorney. If you don't like them, you don't, and you spent $25, and you can even go back to the referral service and ask for a different referral. Say, I didn't like that person, can I get somebody else? They will refer you again. It would be another $25. That's a lot less than randomly picking somebody out of the phone book, which we don't even have any longer, and, you know, paying them $350 for that first, you know, 20-minute consultation. So the county bar associations are your patron's friend. They can do them where they live, where they work, you know, whatever's most convenient. Also, you don't have to say per se be a Mercer County resident to use the Mercer County Bar Association. If that's where you're working and that's easier because you'll be able to meet this person easier, you can do that. The other thing that I think is really incredibly important for everybody to know is that for startup businesses, and I don't know how they define it, but for startup businesses, there is free legal advice available via the Rutgers Community and Transactional Lawyering Clinic. I wonder why no one ever heard of this before. It's such a great name, isn't it? The Rutgers Community and Transactional Lawyering Clinic. Link here. It's a great resource. They will help startups and give them free legal advice. So this is something that you all want, you know, bookmark this one. It's a great resource to send people to. They also do non-business things, so it's good for either one of those. And we can go to the next slide. Well, help is available. Okay, that's the other thing. You're not alone in this. Okay, you really aren't alone in this. Both you and your patron can get in touch with us. We are so lucky in New Jersey that for such a tiny state, we have 3 law libraries open to the public. Anyone can walk in, anyone can ask a question. We're in the Central. There's Rutgers Newark, Rutgers Camden. You can call them. We all help librarians. You know, you can send your your patron directly to us if you want. We can help you with any number of things. Like I said, if you know that you're dealing with a specific citation, give me a call. I can push out to you the Lexis, information on that. That'll have a lot more information for you that might help you with your research. I can help point you in various directions. One of the main things I can help you with is vocabulary. When doing legal research, one of the things that you need to realize is that the word, say, cell phone, you can find that in the statutes, but you won't find the texting statute that, you know, says you can't text while driving when using the word cell phone, because they use cellular telephone or they use electronic communication device. Language is not standardized across laws. So I have a huge set of indexes that I can open up and go, okay, cell phone, here's 4 other ways that you can use the word cell phone, okay? And that's really, really important to keep in mind when you're doing legal research. The laws, you know, are coming from across time and a variety of different people. So the language is not standardized language in any way, shape, or form. Call any one of these libraries, can help you with your vocabulary to help you do your research. So you're not alone. And now I'm going to turn it over to the floor, because I think we're getting towards the end. So if you have any questions, please know, if you want more specifics or anything like that, call me. I'm giving both our generic contact, which is reflaw at NJ State Lib, and my own contact information as well. And Andre, you can move to the next screen that has both those up there. You know, anytime anybody wants to talk or run things by me or figure things out, no judgment. I do not care whether it's personal, professional, whatever, you know, give us a call. I will do my best to help you. And I will just say right now, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on TV, but I will do my best to help you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And Naomi has been monitoring the questions coming in, so I'll turn it over to her to run you through them.
Yes,
Terrific.
okay. So we have 2 questions that were asked. The first one is, where are the law libraries that we can send a patron to?
Okay, that last slide, we'll show it to you. In Newark, you have the Rutgers Newark Law Library. We're located in Trenton, and there's the Rutgers Law Library in Camden, okay? So nobody in the state of New Jersey is more than an hour away from an actual full-service law library, okay? And most are gonna be a lot closer to that. So these 3, absolutely. Newark Public Library also has an enormous amount of legal resources. Leslie Kahn and her team of reference librarians are terrific. They can help as well. And they have, like we at the State Library, we're Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. It's not the greatest hours in the world for people. We understand that. Rutgers libraries have really good hours, you know, in that they're college libraries, but they may not be as easy to get to. So that's why I like to throw Newark Public is also here, who can possibly help you out, because they have public library hours, which are pretty good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna send that in the group chat just so we have that in there. And then the second question is, what is the EEOC site?
Oh, okay. That is also in the handout. You'll find that, okay? But if you just type EEOC small business into Google, one of the first things that will come up is their Small Business Resource Center. So the links are all in that handout that you have. Like I said, I didn't want to get in the weeds with, here's the link and here's, you know, showing you all these different things, because it gets a little dull, and I hope I wasn't terribly dull. Yeah, you know, this is a dry subject. That's another one of the problems with legal research. It's a little bit like, yeah, okay, that's dull. Thank you so much, Tierney. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
You are welcome.
And if there are any other questions, I'm leaving Cynthia's contact information up here. But for now, we are going to close this portion so that we can get ready for the next section. So I just want to say one more time, thank you, Cynthia. And
Thank you, everyone.
And our next session will be our keynote, Building Entrepreneurial Networks and Mapping Community Assets, led by Ginny Sturpka from Creative Startups. And I will see you back here at 10 a.m. Thank you so much.